Good morning once again. My name is Doug Rice, and welcome to the Why Keep Working channel on the U Broadcast Network. It's Saturday, April 1st, 2017, and as promised, my next broadcast would not be an April Fool's joke, but would be about the very difficult subject of heat calls. Now, for those of you that are in the industry and are aware of what a heat call is, a heat call is when the client or the prospect becomes somewhat escalated in their activity and mannerisms. In other words, a heat call is when there's an argument that ensues from the standpoint of the client or the prospect. And arguments should never originate with, of course, the person addressing that individual. So let's talk about heat calls. Now, generally, heat calls can be a double-edged sword because they can give you an opportunity to address a legitimate issue the client may have or the prospect, but they'll also give you the opportunity to seize control of the conversation if possible. Now, to give you a good example of a heat call, cold call, from a cold call perspective, what you'll find is the call itself is the topic for the aggravation or the escalation. And again, sometimes people call heat calls the escalation. So that being the case, you want to address that directly. In most instances, when you work for us at Why Keep Working, these folks have requested information about a way to make either extra money or a way to work from home, because you address both of those opportunities when you're on the phone with us. But when you work for another company, depending on their schematic, depending on what they require, there may be a different way of seeing what's been done. But with us, people request information. So, that being the case, you have one of two choices. A lot of cases, when someone gives me an objection, I tell my folks to believe what they tell you. Also, a lot of times when a heat call comes in play at the beginning of the call, it's usually because you're going too fast and you don't let people hear why you're calling. So in that regard, I would slow down or simply repeat the information a bit slower. Now, here's the issue. When you have someone who gets a call from you and is aggravated that you made their phone ring, you have the obligation to explain to them why you're calling, but you also have the obligation to keep and maintain some degree of professionalism. It can be a difficult, edge to walk on, but it's not non-negotiable. At the beginning of the call, you have about 6 seconds. If an individual escalates, then you have roughly about 6 seconds to de-escalate, and that involves either matching their level of aggravation or listening to them. You have one of two choices. Sometimes hearing people out will accomplish the de-escalation. Sometimes matching their level, not in a disrespectful manner, but in a manner that at least gets their attention, and then bringing them back down. Now, in this regard, if you don't have control of the situation, sometimes it's better to release the call. And releasing the call does not involve the niceties of, quote unquote, wishing them a good day, but it's also not saying something disrespectful. In most regards, it's simply releasing the call, which acts as if the call was disconnected. They'll forget about you, you'll forget about them, you'll keep your attitude right, and you'll move on. Now, the next heat call you may involve may involve a callback or a complaint if you've made the appointment or the sale. In that regard, you may consider turning that over to a supervisor if you don't have the skill or knowledge to bring that to a good conclusion. Another heat call involves just personality conflict on the phone. It does come up, folks. Now, remember, when a person is aggravated, they are thinking a bit more clearly. Remember, there are two types of listeners. There are proactive listeners, and there are listeners who are more passive. Now, to get a person involved in a conversation, it may be necessary to raise the level of the conversation's interaction through a bit more aggressive, probative questioning. That can turn into a heat call, but a skilled marketer can bring that conversation back down and control the flow of information as they see fit. This is something that everybody should not try who has not been on the phone for at least a couple years, but it sometimes bears fruit. You have to remember, if a person is not listening actively, that means they're listening passively, which means whatever you're saying is not getting across. And sometimes escalating the call is the only way to get progress through the call. Another heat call you may get involves the opposite party getting on the phone and ruining the progress you have made with either a spouse or partner. Well, that kind of heat call involves repitching the entire project or whatever you may be presenting. In fact, relating the interest of the opposite party to the person you're now talking to. Another tactic may be having the other party get on the phone and both together. And that way you kind of get the support of the other party in convincing the objectioning party to hear us out. Folks, let me tell you something. Every area of telemarketing, specifically working from home, has to be examined from every angle. That's the only way you're going to make progress, because this can be a very intimidating way to make money. But if you psychoanalyze what you're doing at every turn, you don't get into burnout. You don't lose the interest you have in this industry, which has been good to me for 25 years. All right, well, heat calls, folks. Just remember, everybody gets them. Don't panic. If you have the opportunity to transfer it to a supervisor, do so. If not, try to manage the phone call. It's your call. It's your appointment. It's your money. Hey, you guys have a wonderful day, and tune in on Monday. Bye-bye.